I've tried to. This hood looks so dorky on me. Um, I've tried to do like what I eat in a day videos probably about a million times, but it's really difficult because you have to remember to actually document it. So it's like you can be doing good and then eat something, forget to document it, and it's like, oh well, now I have to start over, do it again tomorrow. Um, so this is my breakfast, a rain. I haven't even had water yet. I don't do what I do. I'm not making healthy decisions, but I woke up this morning. The police, they're pulling people over every 20 minutes. Um, yeah. So, I've had that. And then, well, last night I had some Burger King. I got the Impossible Whopper, no mayonnaise. And I had a Dr. Pepper. I had a large Dr. Pepper. And I drank like that much and poured the rest out. Um, and I had fries, large fries. So I do DoorDash, and I was like, I haven't had orders in a while, and it was kind of like a dead time, anyways, where there's just not a whole lot of orders. Sorry, my camera's crooked. Um, so I was like, well, I'll go get myself something to eat. And I do that sometimes. Like, I'll be on the app and it's looking for orders, and I'll go into like Taco Bell and get a burrito. I get a bean burrito, no cheese, or I'll go. That's usually what I've done. But I went to Burger King and I was in line. I was in the line ordering my food in my car. I was in the drive-through and ordered it. And as I'm ordering it, I get this DoorDash order, and it was like 11.50 to do this dash. Do you want it? And I'm like, yes. And it was for Burger King, and I was like, yes. So I did it, and since they do the Impossible Whopper, like since like not a lot of people order them, they don't just like have some on hand, and they have to like cook it fresh. So it takes a little bit, and I'm sitting there at the window, and the DoorDash thing is like, are you at the store yet? Why aren't you there yet? Why haven't you picked up the delivery yet? If you're having trouble, please contact customer support. If you don't pick it up, then we're gonna reassign it. And I'm sitting there waiting, and they're like, can you pull forward because your Impossible Whopper needs to be cooked fresh? And that's usually what they have me do. And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I pull forward and I go inside, and they recognize me because I put on my cowboy hat, and I walk in, and they're like, DoorDash is here. And like, I go in there like 5 times a day, and it's a small town, so they recognize me anyways. So they're like, DoorDash is here. I'm like, I also got the Impossible Whopper. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I was in line and I ordered my food, and then I got the order on DoorDash, and I was like, well, I might as well. And they're like, that makes sense. If it was like, if it wasn't Burger King and it wasn't that much money, I wouldn't have done it. Because sometimes you get a DoorDash order and it's like $3. I wouldn't have done that. But since it was like 11.50, I was like, yes, 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 yes. So I took them their food, and they gave me like a $5 tip on top of that. So I was like, damn, that's really good. I think it's funny, like, I went to Walgreens twice for the same person in the same day, and her coworkers are making fun of her. They're like, you got DoorDash again? And she's like, I'm hungry. I get it, you're working. So, and then I did a DoorDash one time. They had me take it to AutoZone, and I assumed, because every time I take an order to a business, it's always an employee, unless the business is like a living facility, then it's one of the residents most likely. But anytime I go to a business or something, it's always an employee. So that I get sent to AutoZone, and I walk in and I look at the guys behind the counter, and I'm like, I got DoorDash, and they're just like, okay. And then this girl comes up. She's like, oh, and she's like, it's for me. And she said her name, And I was like, oh, okay. Give it to her. Like an hour later, I get an order for Subway. I go into Subway. She's there working at Subway. It was so awkward because when I tried handing her food when we were in AutoZone, I had her drink and a bag in one hand, and I had another bag in the other hand. And she like the way she grabbed it, it like caught my finger, and I didn't want to just like rip my finger out and make her drop it. So I was trying to be like cautious and careful. And but she was also kind of like, "Why are you just like still holding it?" Because she didn't notice my finger was caught. So we had this little awkward exchange. And then when I went back into Subway, it was just awkward because she was being weird about it. Um, but yeah, I haven't ever got the same house twice yet. But last night I went to this one house that it's like so neat because this is a really small town. So like I see these houses like on especially like on the main part where like I pass every day, and sometimes I'll like every single time I pass that house I look at it, and that was one of those houses where it's like every single time I pass it I look at it because it's old and it's cool and it's big. I mean, it's probably got lead paint and asbestos and all that shit. So I would never want to live in a place like that. But I always look at it and I'm like, that's so neat. And but yeah, so I took their order up to him, and I always like it. He answered the door and took it from me, and he was like, "Thank you." I always like it when they come out to me because for one, I know for a fact this is your order. Like if I have to leave it at someone's porch, I'm kind of like, I hope I hope they put in the right address. I hope that the GPS didn't take me to the wrong place if there's not an address on the house. Like one person I went to, I called him and I was like, "Hey, your dogs are trying to steal the food." So I left it up on top of this car. And he's like, "I don't have any dogs." I'm like, "Okay." And he's like, "Wait, I know where you're at." He's like, "Sometimes the GPS takes you to this other place, but you got to go back out um, all the way down the road because I went all the way up a dirt road." He's like, "Yeah, you go all the way back down to the highway and then turn left and just keep going. You'll see my house." And he described it. So I found it and I put it up on the porch, took a picture, and as I was pulling out, he waved at me. He opened the door and waved at me, and he gave me a pretty good tip too. Like, it's kind of hit or miss. Like, sometimes I'll have issues, and the person will tip me extra big because they're like, you had to like spend extra time trying to find my house or whatever, so they'll give me an extra big tip. But then there's also the other end of it where I'll have people and I'm like having trouble with finding their place, or I'm having trouble getting the order, so I'm having to wait, and they won't tip me at all. Like I went to Hot Springs and this made me so mad. I went to Hot Springs yesterday and they have this Taco Bell slash KFC, and I go in. They're supposed to have your order like ready or almost ready when you come in. You shouldn't have to wait more than like 2 or 3 minutes at the most. So I walk in and I had to wait literally 13 minutes. I was so mad because it was during peak time. So it like messed me up because I go in and I'm waiting and I'm not just going to cancel the order, but they were getting other people's orders like that had came in after me and they hadn't even started my order. And I'm like, "What the heck?" So, but what happens is like, so I'm sitting there, and let's say takes them 3 minutes to give it to me. So then I go take it to the next customer. It keeps me on the list. So if I'm not taking over a certain amount of time, then I stay on the list to where as soon as I drop my next order off, I can get an order. But then if it takes too long, then it takes me off that list. So since it took me 13 minutes, as soon as I was done, I wasn't on the list to get any more orders. But if I were to get an order and get it to them and I were to get a tip, then that would raise my priority. So if I were to get the order within 3 minutes, take it to the customer and get a tip, but I didn't get a tip because it took so long and they were complaining about how long it took, and I was explaining to them like I'm waiting on these people to make it. Like I texted her and I was like, "They're shorthanded. I'm waiting in the restaurant for it." But she didn't tip me because of it. Like, don't take it out on me, you know. Um, but since I didn't get a tip, I wasn't able to like raise priority. So like if you were to get a tip, then it raises your priority. So then I would have gotten another order pretty much immediately. So I missed it because I had to wait 13 minutes. I missed out on like 3 or 4 orders. And then it wasn't even prime time anymore. So I just had to wait because like everybody else was taking orders until the busyness went down. I was like, oh my God. I don't know if that made any sense, but yeah. Like, if I would have gotten the order and got it delivered, then I would have gotten another order and got that delivered, and then I could have gotten like one or two more. But since it took 13 minutes, I was taken off the list. So as soon as I delivered it, a different dasher was able to get the next available order. And since I didn't get a tip, I didn't raise up in priority. So other dashers that had higher priority than me took the next like 2 or 3 orders. And then there was no more orders for a while because it just wasn't busy. But I went to one place and it was an assistant living program, or like assistant living place. So none of the, like, when you go to like a hotel or a motel, they'll say leave it at the door and they'll give you that room number and you can walk up to the door and leave it. But they were like, leave it at the door, and they didn't leave a door number. And so I get there and it's all locked. Like, you have to go to the front desk and that's it. So I went up to the door and the door was even locked, and I'm sitting there and the lady at the front desk sees me. And so she comes over to the door and then she's just like staring at me. And I'm like showing her I have DoorDash, and like the bags and stuff have stickers on them that say DoorDash. And so I'm like waiting for her to open the door, and she's staring at me for like a good minute. And then she finally like cracks open the door, like scared I'm gonna do something. And she's like, "Can I help you?" I'm like, "I have DoorDash." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And then I told her the name of the customer it was for, and she's like, "Yeah, okay." Just like annoyed with me. I'm like, okay. I went to a different place that was an assistant living place for like older people, and and it was more like friendly, I guess, because like the residents were like walking around and outside and sitting around in the nice weather. And I walked through this group of ladies, and I'm wearing my cowboy hat, and I look like, I don't know, but I walked through them, and they were all like flirtatiously, like, not like overtly flirtatiously, but she was just like, hi, like, I don't know how to explain it, but the way she said hi to me and they were all like looking at me, I was like, okay, so I look good today. And then yeah, but it's only made like 80 something dollars yesterday because of that one order. If that one order would have been on time, then I would have got a tip and I would have made $5 or more instead of $3. And I could have done 2 or 3 more orders, which would have been anywhere from $5 to $15 each. Super annoying.